We are recording. Let me make sure. There we go. All right, so happy to have you here in the Transitioning to Microsoft. This is Masterclass 1, and so the intent is to have a series of 3. So today is the big picture, and we're going to talk about getting ready for moving day and what that means. And then we'll drill down even more and more into some of the tools and things on the next 2 days. And not the next 2 days in a row, but in the days I'm going to be doing Masterclass 2 and Masterclass 3. And so that's what our goal is to kind of see how we can make a seamless move on moving day. And if you'll make sure your microphone is muted, that would be very helpful. So if we could do that. And then I just asked, some of you have already done this, but I've asked you to put in the chat where you're coming from. So we have 2 from California, 1 from Texas, and maybe we'll see where the others are coming from in just a second. And just to show you the best experience, because most people do this well. Oh, a lot of Californians. Well, that's cute. That's why. Another Canadian. We had Ontario here yesterday, so we have Canadians. I do a lot of work in Canada. So fun. And so I'm going to stop sharing what I'm sharing and just give you a hint. And I know a lot of you know this, but I know I had a couple who got stuck a couple weeks ago on this phase, because to get the best experience for joining today so that you can be exploring at the same time, if you want to be able to explore at the same time, I'm going to share my whole desktop and then give you an idea of how you can do that. Whoops. I think I just hid the whole thing. Let me pull it back. I don't know what I shared there. Okay, let me see what I'm doing. I'm going to do the whole desktop. So let's make sure that you're seeing that. And so in the chat, can you just tell me, or open your mic and tell me, make sure you're seeing my desktop right now? You should see all my Google Meet, my Microsoft Teams. Yes, awesome. Thank you. So what I like to do and what I recommend you do for this, and it doesn't matter if you're on the browser version of Teams, if you're on a browser, or if you have the desktop version, however you access this today. If you move the window and grab the right side of it or the left side and get a half your screen, then you can get another window and make it half your screen and put them next to each other. And that way you'll be able to see what I'm doing on one half while you're also working yourself on another half if you want to explore at the same time. If you don't do that and you start going out in your browser and looking at other things, I'm going to be this big. It's going to be hard to see what I'm doing. So that's just my hint, and I hate to take the time to do that, but it's very helpful because we had a couple of people and we had told them that at the beginning and they missed it. They were late. And they were like, we couldn't see anything except a postage stamp. And so we want to make sure you know how to do that. So I am going to go on and hide this. And I'm house sitting for my daughter who's at the beach. And so I'm here with the dogs. And so I don't have my second monitor. So if you all will just let me know if something pops in the chat that I need to see, just interrupt me. That's fine. We don't have a huge group. So just let me know if something's in the chat. And I'll also pause once in a while for questions. And we will see how that goes. I am going to open the chat for a minute, and I will watch this one. But if you're new to Microsoft or transitioning into it, either type in the chat new. I mean, it may be both. But new, coming from Google, whatever. I just like to see, how you're coming in. If you're going to the Microsoft ecosystem because you've been from Google, there you go. Lisa's coming from Google. And some of us probably it may not have been our decision and we're fretting over it. And so we're going to make you feel better about that today. New from Google. Lots of you coming from Google. Others? It's like we're about the same. And that's what I expected. When it says transitioning to Microsoft, I'm assuming you're probably coming from the Google ecosystem. So you'll know I'm a Google trainer and a Microsoft trainer and an Apple Distinguished Educator. So I can shift gears in my head really easily. And I will try to do that translation for you. Since you're coming from Google, I'll try to make those comparisons because I think that'll make it easier for you. And it's like going from Mac to Windows. They both work different ways, but they both accomplish the same task overall. And then there are some specific differences in them. And so when you're talking to someone with a Mac, you talk about the dock. When you talk to someone with a Windows machine, you talk about the taskbar, but it's the same bar at the bottom with apps. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be talking about what it's like to come from Google or anywhere else that you maybe you just haven't even been using Microsoft. And now you're going to start using Microsoft in education in your school, in your district. And we're going to be changing, and it's all new, which is a little frightening. And how do I change? And what do I do? And what's my first step, second, third step? And what is this thing? And some of you, I mean, you all know Word and you all know PowerPoint and Excel, but have you really used them in the new Microsoft? And so I'm going to switch over here and just hide this. I'm not going to just do Windows because I'm going to be going back and forth. So I'm going to show you my whole screen. So I'm Julene Reed. I'm in Memphis. It's raining right now. Thank goodness we need a little rain. And so I have been in education over 25 years. I was in an elementary school for 10 years. I was a second grade teacher for 6 years in a former life. And then I was a tech coordinator for 3 years. And then I was a science coordinator for 3 years as well. Then I moved to middle school, high school, where I started a one-to-one program. For 17 years, I ran that program, and it started 20 years ago. So I've been in a one-to-one, one computer per child for 20 years, been in that scenario a long time, and was doing so much consulting that 3 years ago, I left to do full-time consulting. And I also have, I teach adjunct courses as a professor for master's students in the Digital Learning and Leading program at Lamar University, and a lot of them are getting their principal certifications. So I'm doing a lot of different plates I'm balancing in the air, and some days I do it well, and some days they start falling. But that's who I am, and I'm an IE trainer, and I'm also, I've told you, Google and Apple. So what I'm going to share with you is the really differentiators of Microsoft's educational realm and their ecosystem. Some of the things that I think are like amazing in here that you're going to love. So if you're feeling reticent or hesitant or whatever, don't. It's fine. You're going to be doing a lot of the exact same things. Same things, just different terminology, and you'll have some things you didn't have before. You'll have access to some tools you didn't have before. So going on, this is kind of what we're going to do in today's session, and I already did who's in the audience. I think, and I'd like to see this, if anybody's here because they're deploying Microsoft, would you just let me know, just open your mic and tell me you're deploying it? If you're a technical person versus an education person. So I think we're mostly educators, but I also wanted to make sure I was addressing a technical somewhat if we were doing the technical, and I'll touch it, but I won't go as deeply in. And you educators are going, good. And so this is the big picture we're going to talk about. Then we're going to talk about getting ready to move. We're going to start packing. We're going to clean our closets, all those kinds of things. Then we're going to take care of all the pieces because it's moving time, and now we start moving it. And then I'll give you resources. So I use that little metaphor just because it's kind of what it's like. So thinking about the big picture, Google has their ecosystem, Microsoft has their ecosystem. You end up with that in your district. In your district, some districts have both, but you have to you have to understand them. Once you understand them, it's an easy transition from one to the other. But the big picture is Microsoft is not the Microsoft you might have remembered from 10 or 15 years ago. They are doing amazing things for education now. When they were, Microsoft 10 years ago or so was just, here's Excel, here's Word, here's PowerPoint. We'll train all day on how to make tables in Excel. It's not like that anymore. They're really valuing education. They're doing a lot of really productive work in the education realm, and they're streamlining things, much like you've had some of those experiences before in other products. So they're really working to streamline everything, and they have created this environment called Teams. It's made this super. It's just awesome. So we're looking at Microsoft in the classroom and thinking about equity and empowerment at these times right now with so much going on with COVID. And I'm working with these 5 cities, this huge district called Texas Can that covers multiple cities, and trying to figure out what their plan's going to be for next year. With everything, the Texas rates are rising with COVID again. Their infection rate has gone up. So when the governor or the commissioner, I think it was the commissioner of education, said we're going to be back in school, now they're backtracking some. And it's always up to the district. So we're making plans for those schools face-to-face, part face-to-face, half at school, half at home. And the ones at home are actually going to video in, or everybody's at home again. And we're not going to know. It's a playbook we don't know. The rules are different. So we just have to prepare. And one of the ways we can be most prepared is by using these digital tools. They can engage our kids. We can connect with them. And unfortunately, because of digital inequities, not every child's been able to do that. So people are ordering devices like crazy. Districts, they're all on back order because they got the CARES money from the CARES Act, from the coronavirus funding. And so they're buying devices, or they just know they have to. So they're shifting their budgets because we have to keep 21st century skills going. We want to personalize learning, especially now. We want to continue our relationships with our kids. And then providing devices so there's equity if we're at home. So all of those things are important. And Microsoft really does a nice job of looking at learning outcomes. Their accessibility tools are amazing. What they have for their learning tools are amazing. They have lots of ways you can collaborate. You see on that third image, she's digital inking, using inking and drawing on a tablet or a surface. It might be a surface. And the same on the other one. So what I always tell districts, and sometimes I'm too late to tell them this, whatever kind of computer you get that touch screen that they can draw on, because that's making a big difference in math and in science, scientific notations, and just creativity. And it connects that writing to the brain. So lots of tools they're doing to prepare kids for tomorrow's jobs and really getting them to have their education continue during these crazy times. So we want to empower them. So notice I predicted ahead of time that you would be coming from G Suite and going to Office 365. So we're really going to get into the big picture of this today. And then the next two will start drilling down. So thinking about Office, you have Outlook, Notebook, OneNote Notebook, you have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Planner, all these different tools. And then in Google, you have Mail, Calendar, Sites, Slides, Drive, Docs, Spreadsheets, all those things. So they have the same kinds of tools, they just have different icons and different names. And I had to think each icon right there as I was saying them. But they do the very same types of things. And you can still share, you can still collaborate, you can still have it private, you can work in the cloud, all the same types of things. And so I did a little chart for you today to kind of compare it. So when you're looking at OneDrive, think Google Drive. When you're thinking your Gmail, I should probably reverse this, but look at the right first. When you're thinking Gmail, think Outlook. When you're thinking Docs, think Word. When you're thinking Slides, think PowerPoint. Forms is Forms, Sheets is Excel, and you have Classroom, and Google Classroom is awesome. In Microsoft, it's even bigger than that. It's Teams with assignments in it, and the ability to break out and do different things are really great. You have OneNote and Class Notebook in Microsoft. I don't know that there's anything that compares to that in Classroom and Google. And that is one of the things I think is awesome. And then they both have calendars. So you have Google Calendar, and the Outlook Calendar merges with your mail. So it's very similar. You can see they have the same types of programs. They just have different names. And so these are the things that I think make Microsoft really awesome, the differentiators. The Teams, Microsoft Teams is an amazing interface. It's all encapsulating, so kids will work in their team. Adults can have teams, and in that team, you can have files, you can have class notebooks. Everybody has a OneNote notebook in that team if you use the class notebook. You can push content out to the kids. You can make their notebook sections, think 3-ring notebook. And we'll talk about this more in the next series, but you can push materials to them. You can have video conferences there with Teams Meet. And you can set them up in groups, and they can have video conferences in their breakouts, or they can just talk, and you can drop out in and out of their breakouts where they're having their group meetings. And I think the other thing is everyone's getting accessibility tools, but the learning tools in Microsoft are amazing, especially Immersive Reader. And if you need to have any translation capability for students you might have who are ESL or something, or students who are struggling readers or dyslexia, that's an amazing tool that I don't think anybody's touched yet. So before I go any farther, any questions in the chat or anybody want to ask me anything? I'm sure they'll come. So the next part, you'll probably have them. So the first thing you're gonna do, you get ready to move. And you know, when you get ready to move, you always start packing, cleaning, you packing your closets, packing your drawers, get those boxes ready to move. So you have to start thinking now, as you get ready to transition, think about your computer. Will you still have your computer? Will you be giving up your computer and getting a different one? Will you be need to get things off your computer that are on your computer? Your files there. Think about your email. Is it going to change, or is it going to stay what it is? Are you switching to Outlook and you don't have Outlook and have never used Outlook? How about your files in the cloud? For those of you in Google land, if you're in, if you're in the Google Drive, what are you going to do with those? Will you still have them accessible, or do you need to pull them down and move them over to OneDrive? So you need to be thinking of all those pieces: my computer, my email, your files. And don't get overwhelmed. Just take one piece at a time. Look at the schedule for when you're transitioning. Find out when you'll lose access to any of those things that you might lose access to. If they're going to turn off your email or do something to shut down the old email and as you transition, when is that happening? When will you lose access to your Google Drive? And then do you want to put things into a private Google Drive, a personal one, and move them there? Or do you want to put them on up into OneDrive? And then your computer too, what files are there? If you'll still have it, it's nothing to worry about. But if it's something that you're changing jobs, or now you're getting a Windows computer or something like that, and you need to get things off your computer, you need to be thinking about that. And then your calendar too. I didn't have at the top a calendar too, thinking about how you'll transition your calendar, if it's a district calendar or a school calendar. And all those pieces, I've gone through that with even just an email change. And with an email change, we went from one system to Google Mail at my school years ago. Everybody was so nervous. And we gave them a transition period of like a month or two if they need to move anything. And you know what? I haven't missed a darn email at all. It was a great opportunity to have a change and a clean slate. So there were just a couple. You always think you might need it someday, but you'll find out probably not all of it you're going to need again. So, be thoughtful about what you're worrying about. It's probably not all of some of those things just aren't worrying about. And so finding out what your district or school is doing for you. For instance, some districts or schools, they may be moving the whole school, everybody into Microsoft and out of Google, and they may be moving some of those things for you because there are migration tools they can use for some pieces. So you need to find out what they're going to do for you and what pieces do you need to do on your own. And like I said, find out when you should do it, when you should start doing it, and just chunk it. Today I'm going to work on getting my email over there. Or I'm going to work on my files over there, and just, chunk it so you're not overwhelmed with it. So it's like moving. You're moving out of your house one room at a time. One room here, I'm gonna take out the living room, I take out the bedroom, the kitchen's gonna be last, something like that. So breaking it into pieces by the tool will help you as well. And clean house, oh my gosh, clean house. It's like when I get a new laptop, if I don't move anything, if I still have the old one, I don't move it. I just start using my new one, knowing I can access the old one, and you'd be shocked how many times you hardly get anything off the old one. You just move forward. Because anymore, everything's in the cloud anyway. You don't have that much really on your desktop half the time. And anything that is there, like a program, you don't move. So you're just looking like for your photos, if you're moving if you're losing your computer, make sure they're in the cloud. For important files, if it's your lesson plans, you need to make sure you put them in the cloud or something. So thinking about cleaning house, though, it's a great time to purge. And that's why I started to say with the email, I get so many emails and it's a huge breath of fresh air to say, well, I'm changing systems. It's here if I need it, but I'm just going to start new. And you can start all those good habits that you were too busy to have before. So cleaning house, great time to clean. And start with the basics, really slow and easy. So stopping for a second, and I'm going to pull up my chat too, so you can put it in the chat if you'd rather. But I'd love to hear any questions or thoughts or anything that's going on with you that you might be thinking about that you'd like to share with us. Okay, good question here. In order to use the Microsoft Education tools in Office 365, you need to use a PC as a device. I have a MacBook. That's an awesome question. I'm on a Mac right now. My PC's at home with a huge monitor, and I told you I was house sitting, so I left it at home. And I'm on a Mac. So the answer is no, you do not. You can access, and this is one of there are two goals Microsoft has. I mean, they have lots of goals, but two goals related to what we're talking about today. One is they want to have a seamless experience where if you're working in the cloud, which used to be called Office 365 and still comes out of my mouth, they've changed it to Microsoft 365 and nobody's getting it very easily. But if you're in the cloud working on the apps or if on your desktop version, it shouldn't be different. And yet it still is. Sometimes your desktop version, and we'll talk about this more in a little bit, is a bit more robust, or it has a feature your cloud version doesn't. But their goal is to have them be the same experience, and they've heard us all as trainers talk about that. The other thing is, should it be different on a Windows device than it is on a Mac? We don't want it to be. I don't think they want it to be either in the big picture, but the truth comes down to when they're developing something new, they're going to put on their own product first. Just like, someone from Apple makes an app and then the Android people want it, well, they'll be the last to get it because they're going to give it to the Apple people first. So everything, there's some proprietariness going on here. That's a really long word I made up. But they're focusing on their products in one way, and it's because that's what their engineers are comfortable with. That's what they're working in. They roll it out there, and then they'll roll it out in other places. But you can do almost everything on your Mac. There's hardly any differences. You'll be just fine on your Mac. Other questions? All good? Keep going? All righty. Well, stop me if you have one. So I'll go back to this. So, like I said, make sure you know what they're doing for your email. And I have given you some resources and tips today that we'll get into. Make sure you're knowing what you want to move, what you want to delete, what you need to forward. So if someone emails you and if they change the whole email system, is the district going to automatically forward everything to that from that old email? If it has a different email domain on it, if it's a different structure, is it going to automatically get forwarded to your new account? If not, you can also set up your own forwarding. So a lot of this is fact finding from your district, finding out what's going on. Are they moving every email? Will it be forwarded? Do I need to purge what I want and forward it myself? Do I need to do a Google Takeout? And put Google Takeout as a tool you can use to get things out and then use them in a different system. So all of those types of things are questions that are going to relate to what you're going to do to clean house or to move it yourself. So once you get that guidance from your district about what they're doing and the dates they're doing it and what you need to worry about or be concerned about, then you can start doing what you need to do to forward your emails or store them or download them in bulk or something like that. For documents in your Google Drive, anything you have in your Google Drive, are you still going to have access to it? If you are, leave it. It's fine. If you won't, do you need to move it? Are you going to move it to a different Google Drive, one that you create a personal account for? Or are you going to move it directly into Microsoft, which is a little different? Or are you going to trash it and clean it up? And those, trash a lot of it, clean it up, and that's still a good idea. But on the other hand, if your drive looks like mine, it might be more trouble to trash it right this second when I'm doing everything else. than to just move it or pull it down. So there are tools to pull it, to bring it down. There's a step process. I've given you a video for it. There's no great, wonderful migration tool to pull it down and put it straight into Google. So what you'll be doing is you'll be in this, and there's a video you'll have in the slides that you will link to it. And the video, he walks you through how to get your folders together and how to download them to your local drive. And then you go over and you upload them to OneDrive, which is a 2-step process. But he walks you through all that. And just thinking about the day today, I thought, I wonder how they convert, thinking about like, how will you open those forms? Because if you're in Google land and you open a PowerPoint, the new interface is different than the old interface, which you've probably seen. Now it's still the PowerPoint or the Word, and you can end up with both files, and the Google Doc, the Google Sheets, no, the Google Slides version of it, and the PowerPoint version. Same for Excel and Sheets, same for Docs and Word. So I thought, I wonder how this, if I just hit a Google Doc, because I've always exported them to a different format. I've never just tried to download a doc because I knew I had to export it. So I downloaded it and immediately automatically exported to Word on a doc. So they're going to automatically switch over to that new format, to one that's readable by other platforms and not just by Google. So that was interesting because I thought I need to try that. I've never really tried it that way. So you will download everything to your local drive or to a hard drive, and then you'll do a batch upload into Microsoft. And that video walks you through that. You'll put it in your OneDrive, because remember, OneDrive is the same as Google Drive. And so you're just doing, bring it down, put it back up. And so then they will open, they'll be accessible. They'll be just like they were. The one thing that could happen, and this happens anytime you do a conversion from Microsoft to Google, or from Google to Microsoft with a Word document or with a spreadsheet or a presentation, some of the formatting may get, this is a really big technical term, wonky. Probably that's more likely to happen when you're going from a Microsoft product to a Google product. When you're going for a Google product and it shifts over to a Microsoft format, it stays pretty intact. But that's what will happen. You'll just move it over, and don't fret. When it gets there, you can still share it. You can still collaborate it. You can do all the things you used to do. So I think this is a good time to think about questions about that, because I threw a lot at you right then about making the move and thinking about all of that. So questions for that. And then if you want to, share anything about in my district where this is what they're planning and get our ideas, we're here to support you. So let me know if you have any questions for that. I'm seeing how many of us there are. Yeah. 12 of us. So see, there aren't so many we can't ask questions. So feel free to ask away. So are you feeling overwhelmed by it? Put it in the chat. Do you feel overwhelmed by thinking about all of it? Are you a bit concerned, or are you feeling like okay, overwhelmed, okay? Or if you feel like you're okay, you just want guidance, just put okay. And Lisa, don't be overwhelmed. That's why you have to chunk it. Susan's okay. You have, yeah, there we go. And some others are okay, good. Overwhelmed. Yeah, and it can be when you think of the big picture. And that's why I would love to know, I'd love to know what your districts are doing. And so, but at least you'll be able to have those conversations. You'll be able to go back and say, okay, so if we're transitioning, first of all, you probably already know if you're going to keep your computer or not. And if you're keeping your computer, that's one thing to go away. And your district is using Zoom and Google Classroom, Susan, and yet they're going to Teams. Is that it? Or they're going to Microsoft? And you can have a mic, so you can just type. I don't care. So they're using Zoom and Google Classroom. Okay, go ahead.
I think our TOSAs, our teacher on special assignments, are just using Google Classroom, Zoom. They are beginning to look at other tools like Flipgrid and different things, but I am very interested in the Microsoft kind of tools, because I heard that the usability and kind of the way it's done is more like with team, Zoom has been kind of a nightmare in terms of people. I have staff that have been hacked through Zoom. and just the privacy issue. So I think I would like to move towards Microsoft, but I'm not sure what our district is looking at because we're still trying to hire a director of technology and innovation.
People use too, so that's fine. This is for whatever it helps you. So I use Zoom, I use Adobe Connect, I use Google Meet. I've been on Schoology conference, and I use Teams. And now Teams is really smooth. It's done really well. I haven't really had any issues with Teams. The Zoom problems of security, I think, were often because of the ways they were set up initially. They didn't follow some of the protocols, people that started them, so they put more information out about that. So I don't know if it's deserved, but I think they did get some negative feedback that probably wasn't them. It was the way it was set up. Meet has had some problems just this week. I've seen people say that, but I was in Meet today for 4 hours straight and 4 hours yesterday, and it was fine. So it just depends, Okay, there you go. And Jeanetta's saying is because the Zoom bombing and hacking occur because the host hasn't made the right changes to the security. And Google announced today they're doing some new things as well, like they're doing the hands up and mute all microphones and have to make them wait in the waiting room before they can join and stop the chat for kids. And so what's really nice, if there's a nice silver lining of any kind in this terrible place of our world right now, is that it's healthy competition. Just like Promethean versus whiteboards, versus smartboards, Google Mac or Windows versus Mac, Android phone versus Apple. This is really good, healthy competition. So as each of these products with video conferencing are getting used more by us and we're requesting changes, they're listening because this is a big deal to these companies right now. So they are changing, and there are some beauties to Teams because right here in Teams, I can schedule a meeting. I can meet right now. I can put my kids in groups and set up meetings so that in their groups, if they're working in a group, each one of them has a video meeting going on, and I'm dropping in and out of them, up to 4, I think. So there's a lot of different ways you can use it, and it just, everything's different. And I've been usually I teach my graduate classes in Adobe Connect, and it's just been awful with the volume. So we switched, and hopefully they've gotten that fixed. But it's a work in progress. Just like your network's getting hammered more than it ever has, these companies are getting hammered more than they ever have. And we should have bought stock. Why didn't we buy stock? So anybody else want to comment before I go on? Any other questions? Don't be overwhelmed. That's why we're doing this, to walk you through it. Those of you that are their districts are doing this, don't be overwhelmed. It is overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get all this done. We're going to take it a piece at a time. We're going to talk today just about the pieces. I'm going to introduce you to the vocabulary. Today's very basic. And then we'll start looking at Teams and the apps and playing in those enough in the OneDrive so you feel comfortable. And that way, after 3 sessions, and if you miss one, it'll be recorded. And that way, after 3 sessions, hopefully that anxiety will dissipate. It's the unknown, not knowing, but they are so much alike, you'll start finding the commonality. I will tell you the Microsoft ecosystem with Teams, it takes a bit longer to get the picture. So I do a lot of analogies to try to help you. And I have a couple graphics, but I have to make a new one, I think, because I'm still not wild about the infographics they have. Alrighty, so no more questions or comments? All right, we'll continue with our therapy together. So anyway, so those are the big things, the basics. Make it slow, make it easy, and chunk it. And don't wait till last minute. Don't freak over it. And just, while you're watching TV at night or streaming your favorite shows, start moving things from one place to another. But getting the answer to those basic questions is going to be critical. Knowing what's going to be done by the district, knowing what dates they're doing that will really help you. And then cleaning house, if you can clean house. So the Microsoft vocabulary, and I'm actually going to take you off to this site so you can see the visual. This is a podcast by Randall Black, and this was all done before what we're doing. So it's a getting started with Office. So I'm giving you like 3 resources today where you can go learn more. And one is the Microsoft Educator community, and then this and another one. And when you get this, you'll have the link. So for now, I'm just going to show you because it'll hyperlink, or you can search it right now, Getting Started to Office 365 by Randall Black. But you'll end up here, and there's a podcast, which I have not listened to. But he goes through and tells you what each tool is. So I thought this was kind of nice for beginners. They're going to see a definition or an explanation more than a definition of which one is. And it says, it seems a little overwhelming at first, but it's not, because it won't be if you've been in Google. This is more for somebody who's not been in Google before. But if you've been in a system like that, OneDrive and Office 365 are going to make more sense more easily and more quickly. Outlook is your mail, your contacts, your calendars, and your everything functions here groups. You have Outlook. You can get it for your phone, so you can start downloading those mobile apps. You can get it, or if you have like an iPhone, you can just feed it into your regular mail app, and probably the same with Android. You can get Outlook on your computer, whether it's Mac or Windows, either one. Before you start downloading apps, though, let me tell you about a couple of things in a minute. OneDrive is your Google Drive. So if you want it on your local device, it's really your hub in the cloud. So you wouldn't have that, but you could get an app for it if you went on your phone. And then you have Office Online. When you're working with kids, always, always, always have them start in the cloud, because then everything's up there. And for me, I think that's the best advice to give you. Start in the cloud. And then you can open it on your desktop. And again, we'll talk about the desktop apps, and they will sync. They'll sync. So whatever one, if I'm going on a trip and somebody else is driving, I can take whatever I have in the cloud and say, open it on my desktop app. And now I can work on that slideshow or whatever while we're driving. And next time I get to connectivity, they'll sync, and the most recent version will be there. So that works really well. You'll love OneNote. Think it's your 3-ring binder. You can keep a ton of stuff on OneNote. These are the parts of the differentiators of Microsoft. OneNote is awesome. It's built into Windows 10, but it's an awesome tool for you to divide up your work and have things organized in like a 3-ring binder or a trapper keeper. Same kind of thing, only it's all digital. And then Sway. Now, Sway is online only. It's a quick and easy presentation program. It's awesome. Think something different than PowerPoint and slides. It can be vertical. It can be horizontal. It's really easy for kids to use. It's drag and drop, and they can make presentations that look professional. If you're a graphic artist and like to tweak it, you'll get frustrated because it doesn't have tons of Photoshop type of things you can do. Because it is meant to be an easy, intuitive presentation tool that doesn't take a lot of work, that gives you amazing results. So Sway is awesome for you and for your kids. Forms is like Forms, where you take surveys, and it does the same thing. There's a little bit of difference in the data validation, but probably things you're not using. And then Teams. Teams is also one of the big differentiators, that everything can now live right there in Teams. And so when I asked somebody, I was asking in the trainer community about this, somebody have a great infographic about Microsoft and Teams and the apps, and they said, just draw a big circle and put Teams on the outside and throw everything else in the middle, which was a joke, except it's almost true in some ways. So Teams has amazing capabilities for collaboration, for sharing files. The whole Microsoft initiative with Q, we're all living in a team. We're using Team for that. Of course, it's a Microsoft initiative, so we're going to be in Teams. But everything we do is in Teams, with channels and meetings and all files. Everything's in Teams. It just lives there. And then you can make different kinds of teams. So you might have a team for PLC. You might have teams for your classes. You might have teams for staff members. A school may have a OneNote notebook for the faculty manual, and maybe the faculty manual is in a team for the school staff members. And then you can have other kinds too, for like a club or sports or something. And the other differentiator I love is the learning tools. And especially, I told you, immersive reader. I can't talk. Immersive reading. It's been a long week, but immersive reading is awesome. It's really an amazing tool. And the new, just FYI, if you have a Windows device, Edge is the browser that came out with Windows 10, and it crashed half the time. And they have a new one. It's the Chromium version of Edge. And if you're using the old Edge, get the Chromium. It's so much better. It's stable and it's awesome. And yes, they kind of stole that name, didn't they? Chromium. Yammer is a social networking tool. It kind of shows what everybody's doing in the tenant. Honestly, a lot of people use it. I don't use it a lot. But there are organizations that use it a lot. Stream is think YouTube. That's kind of like Stream is their YouTube. And then Planner is what it is. It's a planner to help with tasks, to help with putting different things in different areas for different groups working together and sorting it and keeping on track. I think that's about basically what I want to show you is that vocabulary. And so you'll have that to listen to the podcast. You'll have that to look at later and see, whoops, yeah, and then I think I just opened it again. This is what I want, yeah. So now the other one I gave you, this is also a hot link, and this is a good one for you to go start exploring. And this is taking you to a site as well, and it's the same kind of thing. It takes you through each tool and explains it. Here's questions and answers, and this is for education. It's focused on education, and this is the Education Help Center. So it tells you again, Microsoft Teams, OneNote, Class Notebook is where you make in your team, you would make a notebook for every student in your class and push things out to them. And you get to decide what sections they have, what files you're putting in it. You can grade everything right there. It's one of the things I say is a real differentiator. Staff Notebook's the same, but staff, the learning tools we've talked about, you can get apps from the App Store, from the Microsoft Windows App Store. STEM resources, all those different things. So I've just given you some of these things so you could be looking and exploring as you're thinking about it. And we'll go through some of this and then we'll have other sessions going on. So it's up to you if you're a self-learner or if you like to be in a session and learn or if you're having other opportunities. Questions about that? Anybody? Feel free. I'm here. Check our chat again.
Hi, Julene. Will you be putting any of these links in the chat?
I have a form at the end.
Okay, perfect.
I have a slide with a form.
Okay.
When you fill out that form, I will send you the whole presentation.
Awesome. Thank you.
The PDF, and I'll have all the links for you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm enjoying this.
Oh, good. I'm giving you therapy, maybe. So with Office 365, and so thinking about your Mac or anybody, you have everything in the cloud. And you can go, it depends on your district, how they set up the tenant. So what is the tenant? When you're in a district with Google, it's like the Google domain. Everything in your school, and so right now I'm working with Texas Khan Academies. Everything that's done at all the Texas Khan Academies lives in this big domain. So it's like the big space that they come in. Google comes in and they create their Texas Khan Academy space in the cloud. And everything they do stays within that domain. So their Google Drive, their mail, everything is within their encompassing circle, think Venn diagram. With Microsoft, same thing, except it's called a tenant. Theirs is called a tenant. So whatever district you're in, if it's a Microsoft district, they are setting up a tenant. And that tenant is just their big district spot in the servers at Microsoft in the cloud. And so when you hear the word tenant, that just means the Microsoft agreement that has created this infrastructure for your district. Right under that is, within that is SharePoint. And SharePoint is the big server space. So everybody's OneDrives, everything are coming through everything's coming through SharePoint. It's like the biggest drive. And then within that are the users and everybody's individual files. And so that's kind of how it works. When you have kids, like I told you, students always should start in the cloud, and they can go however your district sets up their tenant. It may be portal.office.com. It may be through your email. It may be, lots of different ways. So I'm going to show you right now, and in just a minute, we're going to go there. I'm going to show you the OneDrive. But you can work in the cloud most of the time. And then if you want to, it'll have a little button that says open in desktop app. So open it in desktop app means you would install on your computer PowerPoint, Word, Excel, or whatever. Well, if they have the right kind of education license, which I don't mean there's a wrong kind, but it's a certain specific kind of several, chances are most districts always do. You get 5 licenses to use for free. One will be on your work computer. You can put one on your phone for all their products. You can put one on your home computer, Mac or Windows. You have 5 licenses, one on a tablet if you had an iPad or something. And so for some of these, you'll need to get the app, OneDrive, Notebook, those things, you'll have to get the app. But for your computer, you can work in the cloud. For mobile devices, you'll probably want the app. So either way, and we talked about they're slightly different, but you can work either way. I still like working in the cloud better, but sometimes I do start on the desktop and then save it to the cloud. So you can save it to the cloud or you can work either way, and they're going to sync. And then once they do that, if you're on the desktop, it's automatically saving. If you're on the cloud, it's already automatically saving, just like it was in Google. But once you've worked on the desktop, you need to be saving. And then once you share it to your OneDrive, which is like Google Drive, and put it in the cloud, then it's automatically syncing between and saving between. So you can ask about where do you get those 5 free licenses, and where did my PowerPoint quit moving? There we go. No, that went way too far. No, hello, I'm not touching anything was the funny thing. It did that all by itself. I was totally hands off. What was that about? Yeah, my computer's had it this week. I think that was pretty funny, and I have to figure out where we were. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, we skipped a whole bunch of slides there. So it doesn't matter if you're in the cloud or not. It's going to catch up, and they'll sync once you've connected them. So what I want to do now is take you to, I'd like you to see, and I don't know if you have it yet, if you have the ability to log in to the cloud, but I'm just going to show it to you. If you can go get yours, or you can just watch today. And so you can either go to office.com and log in. You could go to portal.office.com if you have a district portal. If you don't have a login yet because your account hasn't been created, just watch. So go on and I'm just in OneDrive. So when you get there, you'll go to OneDrive. And OneDrive is always a cloud. When we talk about being in the cloud, that just means Microsoft servers that they have offsite somewhere. They're not in the sky. But whenever I talk about the cloud, I'm thinking OneDrive. And all of the Office 365, even though it's Microsoft 365, this says Office, are all in the cloud. And so think about your Google Drive when you open Google Drive. When I'm in my Drive for Google, and I can open and show you, it's not a lot different. Now I'm in the cloud too. So I'm in the cloud here, and I'm in the cloud there. So I have all my files here. They just have a little different format. And to go to a new document or a new sheet or a new whatever, I can just click there on new. The Microsoft, they're already here. I already see my apps, my tools right here. So I can just click one of those and it will immediately go on and it'll open PowerPoint or whatever I want to open. And there's my PowerPoint. So same things, just a different way to get there. In Google, you had your app launcher. We always call it the waffle or the grid. I went too far up here. You could also get there that way. Well, in Microsoft, they have the same thing. It's right here. So the more you use it, the more you'll see, well, this is just like Google. It's the same. So all my programs are right there, all my apps. And if they're not right here, you click on all apps, and then you'll even get more. It'll be the whole list. So easy to find your apps. And you can also go to all apps here if they're not here. And the part I wanted to show you, once you have access to Microsoft and your Office 365 account, and you go to OneDrive like this, or office.com, this is just office.com actually. I will see at office.com, so if you're at OneDrive, change it to office.com. That was my mistake. At office.com, I will go here and I can install it on my desktop. I can install all of those. I can pick to install all of them or just one or two of them. So you get 5 licenses with your email account. That is your login account for Microsoft for the tenant. You get 5 licenses and you can install them there and put it on your desktop. No charge. Now let me show you OneDrive since I totally said that wrong. So OneDrive still is just like Google Drive because you're going to have the same thing. Look, my files is the same as my drive. Recent, there's recent. Shared with me, shared with me. Same type of structure. So it's really not that much different. And instead of my files being hierarchical here, they're right here. And I can make folders. I can click new. I can do a new folder. I can go to a new document. I can upload right here. When I upload, I did sync instead. My bad. When I did upload, I could do a file or a folder. Syncing is just going to sync your desktop with the cloud. If it didn't sync for some reason, you won't be doing Power Automate right now. This is something that does automatic routine tasks for you. I can sort. I can look at list view. I can look at tiles. So OneDrive, if you've been using Google Drive, you already know OneDrive. It's the same. It just has a different interface. Questions about that, about OneDrive? Or questions about when you go to Office 365 and you're able to see this and get your apps? So that's really the big picture. Without the questions, I kind of keep going. And I can sort all these different things. I can share things. I can right-click on folders. I can click on documents. I can share them here, things that were shared with me. People have shared things with me, and who knows what they are, because these are usually from trainings like scary weather. But if they've been shared with me, they're here. And so you have all these capabilities to do different things. And so I don't see much difference there for you. When you start using your apps, if you've been using Word, it's Word. If you've been using Excel, it's Excel. It may be in the cloud, but it's the same thing with a few added features. And if you haven't been using this for a while, you'll be impressed with some of the features I show you. So you have all of those. Remember I told you SharePoint is you have a bigger storage space, and that's more tenant oriented. You can get to that. And so you can just be looking around. Do not get all excited about making a class notebook until you've heard more. And I'm just going to tell you this ahead of time, because when you make a team, and Teams is not here, I know you're in your team, but it will come over there eventually. There it is. Here's Teams. When I'm in a team, and you'll see my teams here and what it looks like, wait for it. And it can be, this is Tucson. That's where I was working in Tucson last week. Not there, but remotely. Let me get it open for you. I thought it would open, but it didn't. See if I remember it. Not as backwards. Okay. That should do it. Well, you know what? I have it right here. Why am I doing that? Hold on. Because I have it right here. It's just not liking my login and logo is right. So when I'm in Teams, and I'm going to take you and show you this, like these are my teams, and you'll get an idea. So this is my desktop version. That's why I was able to go to it so fast. I already had it open. So these are different trainings I've been doing. Here's a global ed tech team. And for you, it'd have like, if you were a self-contained classroom in elementary, you'd just have, Mrs. Reed's 5th grade. If I taught period 1 history, period 2 history, period 3 American history, I would have a team for each class. And then within each team, I would be having different things like my notebooks in it. So over here, I have chat, I have teams, I have assignments, calendars. Across the top, when I'm just in the general part, and I go into a team, let's just look at a sample team. And I'm in a general team, I have a chat going on here. It's like assignments that I could, like when you have your conversation assignments in classroom, it's the same thing. I can set up groups for my students here. Those are called channels. And I can make a class notebook right here. I can add files. And so here would be my class notebook. And this may not have been set up yet. This may be one I've used, or it's one that's not set up yet. I can't remember. Oh, it actually is set up, I can tell. So I've made a class notebook here, and This is a OneNote notebook, and I was pretending these were fake students. But if I had a class of 20, I'd see 20 OneNote notebooks here. So the reason I was saying don't get excited about class notebook, because you want to make a team first, and within teams generate that class notebook. And we'll do that together. So don't get lost in that. I just don't want you to go off and make a class notebook, because it's a one-way street. When you make a class notebook, you can't go back to teams. You can only go that one direction. So that was why I showed you that. I just wanted you to not get excited and step ahead. And then going back to our PowerPoint. So let me get back to that and where we are right now. So thinking about the cloud or the desktop, they're in both, and you know where to go get the desktop apps if you want them now. If you have the old Edge on the bottom left, you should be able to go on your menu and download it. Somewhere there, you'll be able to download the new Edge. So I've given you some resources now because we only have 5 minutes left. And these are some of the graphics. And they're not my favorite, but these are the only ones I found that I thought, well, you can kind of look at them if you want to make them bigger. And actually, I think that's just a bigger version of that. I should get rid of that. So this is like the everyday guide. And if you click on it and open it and make it bigger, you'll see even more here. So it's talking about sites and different things and teams. This is called the periodic table, and it gives you just a quick view, infographic of what everything does. So that's another one you can look at. And then this is that video I told you about, and it would play and show you, and it's because I'm streaming, that it works, and I didn't put the opening slide right. So, but it will tell you how to transfer your files from Google Drive to OneDrive, how to pull them down. These are more IT. I wasn't sure we'd have somebody technical. So when you get to these, you can skip these two, that slide, that's more IT. That's technical, like setting up the tenant, how you have to do that on the back end. Here's a case study if you just want to see how the school used Windows 10 and then scaled their journey and used it for education. It's one of their case studies. And then this is the other place where you should go and learn some more, because this is a great opportunity. This is where mystery Skypes live. When you saw, the mystery Skype in your classroom, you guess where the other people are. They live in this educator community. They have virtual field trips you can set up, but they also have all kinds of courses and classes you can take, and they're quick ones and they're longer ones. So as you're preparing this, make an account here, and they'll have like getting started with remote learning. And then they'll have all these different activities going on, like here's NASA STEM on something, and learning paths. But you can look at the courses and you can search for a certain course if you're interested in a certain topic, like OneNote or something, and you can take these. They're short little video courses. And so if I saw one here, I just show you. They're easy. And then let's just do OneDrive. Let's see what they say about OneDrive. And if they have one on, they may not have one on just OneDrive, but they should have one on OneNote. And maybe because I'm not logged in, but I should see it. There we go. OneNote class notebook. And then you'd start that one. You'd open it up. You'd start the course. Tells you, it takes an hour to go through it, and tells you what you're going to do, what the objectives are. And if you've made an account, you earn a little badge. You can get points to do different things. So that's a great resource for you as well. Start going to the education community, the Microsoft Educator community, and looking at that. And lessons are shared there. People share lessons. It's a great resource. So that's your beginning one. You've taken Masterclass 1, getting ready to move. And our whole goal here is learning outcomes in our kids. It's about our kids and how to support them. And so when I'm sharing these tools, I'll be giving you in the next 2 class sessions ideas about how you can do different things with the kids and not isolated as a tool. Like today was pretty much a tool. But moving forward, I'll teach you where the tools are, how they work, but we'll also talk about that integration with lesson design and lesson plans and working with our students. And so if you want the slide request, it's right there, bit.ly/QPrezo. And you can put in your slide request right there. It'll be a form, a Microsoft form. You fill it out. I used to have everybody email me, and my email blew up, and I got crazy. So I changed to thought, why am I not using the technology I teach to do this? This is stupid. So I'm using the form. Sometimes we just go so fast we're not thinking. So I use the form, and if you'll fill that out, I should be able to catch up this weekend. I'm behind on yesterday, so I should be able to catch up this weekend. And I can send you the PDFs. If ever I can help you, I think my email's here. You can go find more sessions taking place. And it's not here, so I'm going to put it right here, and I'll put it in the chat for you. But always feel free to reach out to me at any time and let me know if I can help you in some way. I'd love to. So here it is, and I'll copy and put in the chat for you too. So that's pretty much it for the session today. Any questions? It's Friday, y'all. I use my y'all for Memphis. It's Friday. I'll put in the chat for you too.
Moving forward, of course. Moving forward, do you? Yeah, nobody calls me until I unmute.
Of course.
Moving forward, how are students? Are you going to speak to teaching students about? We're moving to Office 365. Office 365.
Answer and tell me you'll call them right back. I'm not going anywhere.
My daughter, she wants to go to her friend's house.
Oh, and you know, if she's like my daughter, they'll call me on every phone 3 times.
That's